live in about 1 second. So give me a sec to make sure that everything is working on YouTube and on Facebook. Make sure that everything is working on YouTube and so we are going live in the Black Belts group. For those of you who don't know, the Black Belts group is the group for the full course students. We are going live in the Black Belts. We are also going live on YouTube, but I won't be answering questions on YouTube for the most part. I will be answering questions in the Black Belt group. And for those of you who always, excuse me, leave comments on the Kevin David page, I'm not going to be answering questions there. I am going to be answering questions in the Black Belt group. So if you are a part of the Ninja family, then ask your questions in the Black Belt group, not in the Kevin David page, and not on YouTube, because the main place that I am going to be answering questions is, again, in the Black Belt group. So I'm going to give people 1 second to sign on, grab some water, and then we're going to get this exciting Ninja Q&A going. What is up, everyone? Let's see who is already joined us. Looks like we have about 19 people on so far in the Black Belt group. What's up, Ron? I always love seeing the first comment. So this is going to be a good one, guys. I have about an hour. So we're going to get a lot of questions answered, which is going to be fun. Mandy and Jordan, can you guys comment on the actual Black Belt group, not the official Kevin David page? It's the last time I'm going to look at the official Kevin David page. I want to answer questions in the Black Belt group because it helps me actually prioritize, students, which I always want to do. What up, Bjorn? What up, Elliot? What up, Emily? What up, Edwards? Love it. Love you guys too. All right, we got about 150 people on YouTube. I'll say what up to everyone really quick here while the Black Belt members actually sign on. What's up, Mario? Love you too. That realtor, Doug. What's up, Sancha, Nitro Wheel, Rods, John, William, Jonathan, Karen, Marcus. The whole fam's here. What a serendipitous live stream indeed, Marcus. Yeah, I used to live in Eugene, Cake. I used to live basically right on University, right by the Duck campus. So if you guys have questions in the Black Belt group, start posting them there. To answer the question, I use OBS and a software called Restream.io to actually stream my course live on both Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. You can also stream on Twitch and a variety of other different software, but if you use more than 2 or so, it gets kind of difficult. The way that I share it to an actual group is I post it onto my official Kevin David Facebook page, and then I share it from that Facebook page, the live stream, into my Black Belts group, which is, again, the full course group, and it's where I'm going to be answering questions for all of you amazing members. Emily and Israel and Robert, can you guys help push people into the Black Belt group? Because people are still asking questions on the official Kevin David page. I'm going to be answering questions in the Black Belt group from now on. So let's get into it. I took your advice a couple of days ago and found a much faster supplier with a great price. That's amazing, Ron. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to ever have a manufacturer lead time much over 25 days. If it is like a super custom product that has like nothing else anywhere, then it's possible, but it's not particularly likely. So you want to, stay in about the 15 to 25 manufacturer lead time. And what I mean by that is how many days it actually takes the manufacturer to create your goods. And then, ship time ranges anywhere from 3 to 7 days for express or air, and ranges anywhere from, 15 to 30 or so days via sea. So those are kind of the lead times that you can expect for manufacturer time, for shipping by air, and for shipping by sea. When you launch your product, how much do you set your max default bid at? Typically, would you set it at your break-even profit amount? Well, it's difficult to set a max bid, Frank, with respect to your profit margin, right? Your profit margin is more ACoS. Your bid price, right, could be very high, like in the supplement category, for example. And since your cost of goods sold is so low, you could still make a profit even at like $3, $4. I've even seen $5 or $6 per click in the supplement niche. But if you have, very slim margin, high volume, then obviously your ACoS is much more important. You want it to be a little bit lower, right? So let's say that you have a 40% ACoS and you have a 40% profit margin. So each click you get is actually breaking even. You're not making any money on those specific clicks. So what you can do is you can cut your bid price. Let's say when it is 40% ACoS, you have your bid price set at $2. You can cut your bid price to $1, and that will in turn lower your ACoS, right? Because it won't actually serve your ad in the auction for those higher price time slots, right? It'll only serve it at a little bit lower volume sections of the day, and then therefore your ACoS is going to lower basically in parallel to your bid price being lowered. What is weighted more for keyword ranking? 10 units sold to 10 different Amazon accounts or 10 units sold to one Amazon account? When creating a product listing to get an FN SKU, okay, there's multiple questions here. Let's answer the first one first. The answer to this one is 10 units sold to 10 different Amazon accounts, without a doubt, right? Because you're only getting keyword rank for one sale related to those keywords if you get one sale of 10 units. If you get 10 sales, right, it's by sales. It's not by volume per sale, which is why I set, max order quantities at 1 when I am doing my product giveaways. When creating a product listing to get an FN SKU for the supplier, are there any fields that I should put a lot of time into / be careful about that would make it difficult to change for the future? Yeah, so when I'm making my FN SKUs, I never really put photos, right? If you're 100% sure about like what you want your main hero photo to be, you can put it there, right? But you don't always have to. And I usually spend a little bit of time on my title, right? So I like to just, it's more of a habit because 30% or so of the time Amazon will lock you into a title when you first save your product listing, and sometimes they'll actually it'll go into forming your canonical URL, right, which is the URL you see in the URL bar. Like it'll say www.amazon.com/garlic press jumbo stainless steel, right? Those will be like your canonical URL, what appears before the hyphen in your title. So when I create my product listing at the beginning to formulate my FN SKU, I am creating my final title. But that's almost just as much out of habit as it is what you should do, because 70% of the time you can change it. But I've just noticed sometimes Amazon will lock you into that title. So I always just make my title final when I am creating those FN SKUs. Is it worth trademarking an open brand? Can you clarify what you mean by that, John? I'll move on and then I'll answer it when you clarify below. Are you able to help get approval in the topical category in beauty, or would we actually need to get one of the 3 requirements Amazon is asking for? Yeah, so I do have a connection to get help with the topical category in Amazon. I think it is $500, and then you can get a refund if you aren't approved for it, because it is difficult to get approved in the topical category in beauty because it's it can be such a lucrative category. So message me about that. I'll need to check on the $500. I think it's $500 for topicals, but I do need to check to verify that for 100%. Are we supposed to do door-to-door? How does freight forwarding come into play? Yeah, so freight forwarding handles everything from me from the second my products are finished at my factory until they arrive at the Amazon FBA warehouse, right? So let's talk about a couple different things with shipping. FOB is what I always use. It's the reason I do it, right? There's multiple different types of shipping. There's DDP, duties paid, EXW, right? XWorks. There's also FOB. I use FOB, which stands for freight on board, just so I can compare apples to apples, right? So what FOB means, literally all FOB means, is the price you pay for shipping from your Chinese factory to the Chinese port. Right, and so that means that your supplier is assuming the liability and risk of your products from the floor of their factory where they're finished into the China port, and then your freight forwarder takes over. You can also do EXW, which means that your manufacturer finishes your products and leaves them on the ground in their factory, and your freight forwarder handles all of the inter-China shipping from the Chinese factory to the Chinese port, and then handles the shipping and customs in China, and then handles the shipping, via sea or whether it's by air, and then they also handle the shipping from the port in the USA to the Amazon FBA warehouse, right? So there's a few different sections. I always do FOB, which means my freight forwarder takes over once my products have arrived at the China port to either be shipped by sea or shipped by air. I'm looking at bundling a product, but when I see the competitor's storefront, they have the same product but sell it separately and are not bundling it together. Is that a sign not to bundle something, or is it something that they are overlooking? So this is a good question, Josh. The answer is it depends, unfortunately, as it normally is. But, depending on what the product is, right, there's things that make sense logically to bundle. And there's things that do not make sense logically to bundle, right? Just because you see something in the frequently bought together section does not mean that you should bundle, 20 different things and, have this heinous bundle for like $300 that somebody is going to buy. That's not the case, right? It's the same thing with ebooks. I get this question all the time where people say, I'm thinking about selling this product. I can't really think of like a way to make it better, but I'm thinking about adding an ebook to differentiate, right? And ebooks make a lot of sense with certain products, right? Like if it's like a weight loss product and you're giving an ebook on the 10 best exercises or the 10 best usages of, some supplement you're selling, or like, if you're selling some cooking related item and you're giving an ebook on recipes, right? Those products make sense for ebooks, right? But if you're selling like a coffee mug or something, giving an ebook on like the 10 best usages of a coffee mug is just ridiculous, right? Or if you're selling like a basketball or some product that just doesn't make logical sense. So take a step back, right, from ebooks, take a step back from bundling and think to yourself, does this make sense to bundle? And if it does, right, if you'd pay slightly more or, more than the synergistic value of each individualized product for a bundle, personally, if you would do it, right, if it makes logical sense for you to do it, then it probably makes logical sense for someone else to do it, right? And if you don't see any bundles, then, it's either because it doesn't make logical sense to do it since someone tried, or, right, they're overlooking it. And without knowing more about the actual product, Josh, I'm not able to answer that question in a very satisfactory way, but that is how I look at it, right? It's about logical sense. Don't let yourself get caught up with bundling everything, right? Over bundling is definitely something that exists. Similarly, don't let yourself get caught up with, just throwing an ebook and thinking that all of a sudden your product is so much better. It has to make logical sense. After I finished designing/creating my first product, it went through into production. Total lead time with shipping is like 75 days. So naturally, I went into product research mode again. I found 2 other smaller products that I could launch by air around the same time as my other product. Should I wait and launch my original product first to learn a bit, or is it reasonable to launch all 3 if I can afford it? Definitely all 3, Thu. I mean, I'm a big believer in, if you do your due diligence with product research, why on earth would you rather let your money rot in a bank account, right, and earn 1% APR versus invest it into a product where you can, make a 30, 40, 50, 60% return on your capital, right? And I mean, that obviously you have to weigh in the fact that you need enough money to survive, pay rent, pay for food and things like that. But, if you create a budget that you can live for, 3 months with your savings and you have extra left over and you want to launch more products, every product that you're doing proper due diligence product research on, and you're using the 6 step of product research, you're eye tracking it, right? You're doing everything you need to feel very, 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 very confident and remove all of the risk, almost all of the risk, right? Then it's better to invest in more products. Every profitable product that you add to your portfolio is more money going into your actual account. Right, and so the next question, let's say I'm ranked on first page of a specific keyword and I lower my price from $29.90 to $18.50. Will this bring my rank and listing down? No, definitely not. I think it actually the opposite would happen, Frank. If you're on page 1 at a higher price rank, right, that means that people value your product enough to actually bring you to page 1, right? So if you're lowering your price down to $18.50 from $29.90, then what's happening there is people are probably going to actually buy more of your product, which is going to increase your rank, right? So if you can get to organic position 1 by lowering your price, what I like to do is then incrementally raise my price up, $2, $1 a day, $2 every few days, right? Up until I get to like that luxury brand price, right? And the sweet spot is, charging the luxury price where people are interpreting your product as having the highest value, right? Because people associate value with price. It's just a human nature trait. We've been programmed through advertising and years of, commercialism and capitalism to associate price with quality. Then if you can maintain organic position 1 with the highest luxury price, that is the sweet spot where you want to be, right? Because that's the most profitable. You're also getting the most sales. You're also in organic position 1, right? So you play around with price until you get to that sweet spot. How do you go about CSPC, Consumer Product Safety Commission? Sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but can you kind of clarify what you mean by that down below? I'll move on and then I'll answer it when you go again. Open brand, a brand that won't be catering to a specific niche that will have a variety of different products for different categories. So I get this product kind of often, John. The answer is, like, let's say I make a company called Kevin David, right? And I'm selling basketballs, I'm selling garlic presses, I'm selling, plugs, I'm selling dishwashers, I'm selling garbage cans. You can't trademark that wide a range of products. How trademarks work is you trademark for a specific product category range. Right, and so you can't just put one umbrella of a trademarked name and then have it apply to all of these obviously non-related different products, right? So you could make a sporting goods brand like Nike, and you could have sport shoes and sport shirts and sport things like that, clothing and things like that. Those are things that you can trademark. You can trademark the name Nike, right? You can trademark the fuel band. All of those different words that Nike is popularizing, right? But it has to, again, have a bit of logic involved. It has to be related. You can't, unfortunately, just trademark your company name and then have it apply to all of your different products. Hi, Kevin. Question. I went to a tax person about setting up an LLC and ended up even more confused. I live in California. They basically said if you get an EIN in California and then the IRS sees that as a residence in California. When I mentioned Wyoming, Nevada, they sounded like it wasn't really possible because you needed a residence somewhere if your personal taxes are in California and business in Wyoming. Kind of flags the IRS. What are your thoughts on this? I plan on doing more research on LLCs and taxes, and I want to get this up the right way. So I'm not a tax expert, but we can talk about this quickly. If you want to set up an LLC in Wyoming or Nevada, or states that have zero income tax for small businesses, and if you live in a different state, it is difficult to set up a business checking account, the right way, doing it like that, right? So if you live in California and you want to set up a business checking account and have everything be completely legit, unfortunately, you have to get an LLC in California. But if you want to use an online bank like Schwab or Ally or one of those and have the money flow into your online bank account that isn't technically a business checking account, that is one way you can do it, right? As far as the residents in California, let's talk quickly about taxes with Amazon, right? So e-commerce taxes are one of the most obfuscated state tax legislations that exist to date, right? So certain states now are doing what they're called amnesty programs. And what an amnesty program is it basically means they will forgive all of the back taxes that you technically do owe if you do register and start paying taxes in those states. Right, and so certain states are trying to fight Amazon right now. I think like South Carolina or whatever the most recent one that's kind of popularized the amnesty program is, where they'll forgive all of your back taxes if you come forward and start paying taxes now, right? And so it's much more complicated than that though, right? Because there's some very good arguments being made that Amazon is actually responsible for paying the taxes for some of these states because they control such a large part of the sales process, and that it doesn't fall on the actual individual, right? Because we don't control where Amazon is sending these actual units of ours, which determines nexus. And when you have your nexus determined, that is where you actually are, establishing the onus of paying taxes in that specific state. Right? And so that is all I'm going to say about taxes for right now. Taxes are unfortunately a very individualized aspect of Amazon FBA. But if you're curious about amnesty programs, or if you want to set up an LLC in a different state, right? Or if you're selling from internationally and you're selling in the USA, there's all different types of implications, and like everything in life, right, it's a risk versus reward of how intimately you want to dive into the taxes, right? Because according to the state laws, let's say you sold one unit in Rhode Island, technically, right, you should be filing a state return in Rhode Island, but no one in their right mind would ever do that for 1 unit sold, right? So again, it's risk versus reward, and that is, I have a lot of opinions on taxes related to e-commerce, but there's a little preview into my brain. So you still do FOB for air? Damn, I misunderstood. I assumed FOB was just to the port. Yeah, so FOB, I mean FOB you can ship to an airport similarly to a seaport, right? It just means the shipping cost from the Chinese factory. It's like the China shipping cost from the Chinese factory to either the Chinese airport or the Chinese shipping port for sea shipping port. Is it a problem if you're not brand registered and you have hijackers? I mean, yeah, it can be, but I mean, most hijackers ship from China, right? They're merchant fulfilled, they're not prime. So one of the biggest buy box determinants, right? And by buy box, for those of you who don't know, I mean, who actually gets the money for the sale. So if there's 2 sellers on a listing, whoever owns the buy box and somebody buys it and adds it to their cart, whoever owns that buy box gets the money for that sale, right? So if you are prime and you have 9 hijackers who are from China, even if they have lower prices, if they're not prime eligible, meaning they don't have their actual units in an Amazon FBA warehouse, then you usually will own the buy box because being prime eligible is one of the largest determinants that factors into owning the buy box. When you send the USB web key with your product, do you get the USB web key manufacturer to create an instruction page for that web key that gets inserted with the product you're selling? Also, what is the ballpark cost we should be paying for these keys? I've paid, I think back when I used to insert web keys, I was paying like $1 each for them, and they install all of the predetermined software, right? So when you plug a USB web key insert into your computer as a person, it'll basically initiate a little patch that opens up a specific website, and whether that's opening to your about page, or if you have an instructional page, or if you want them to give their email for some type of usages of your product or whatever, that's kind of how it works. How long will it take to start making money after the products are on Amazon? I mean, it depends, right? If you've done all of your research correctly and you've chosen a good product, right, and you're doing your product launch correctly, right, you're building a few reviews, it really, you can start making organic sales quite quickly. If you do very good product research, right, when I launched my products, it took me about 3 days to get some organic sales. It took me about 7 days to get to $1,000 in revenue per day, and that was the very first time I ever had started Amazon. It was like 16 months ago or something like that. And by the 7th day of my products arriving in an Amazon FBA warehouse, I was making about $1,000 a day. Do you advise to wait to launch a product if shipment comes in November/December the earliest? Considering is iTracked page 1 competitors' average sales determined now will be lower compared to when you launched? I'm going to reread this one, Elliot. Do you advise to wait to launch a product if shipment comes in November and December the earliest? Concern is iTrack page 1 competitors' average sales determined now will be lower compared to when you launch, so you could end up not matching competitors' sales velocity. No, I never recommend waiting, right? If there's anybody out there who's thinking, should I wait or should I launch into a product category now? The answer is, if you've done your due diligence, launch now. It's kind of getting to the point where, unless you're air shipping, you're going to be near the cutoff of where you want to be to arrive by Q4. So what I'm recommending to people, because I probably get 50 messages a day from people asking, worrying about the lockout, because last year, I think it was October 19th or something like that, Amazon prevented new FBA sellers from shipping inventory into an Amazon FBA warehouse. What I'm recommending now is that people, do their due diligence, never rush through that, pick the right product, right? Once you've created that product, airship 1 carton of that product into an Amazon FBA warehouse, right? Sea ship the rest, or if it makes sense, if they're super light products, airship all of them, right? But at least do 1 carton into an Amazon FBA warehouse, kind of just to get your products in there, right? To make sure that you're not experiencing any type of lockout troubles or anything like that. And after you do that, then you really won't have any worries. But I've also heard that the lockout this year is only going to be affecting toys and games, which could be something that you want to worry about. So So basically, let me summarize that. The lockout may or may not be happening. I've vigorously asked Amazon, and they won't give me any information about it. But the lockout is something that you should at least think about. Ship one carton of product in, and then from there you probably should be good to go. As soon as I hear anything definitive from Amazon as to whether or not the product lockout is happening, the seller lockout is actually happening, I will obviously immediately inform all of my students. But until that happens, all we can do is try to be prepared for it. So ship one carton in, and you should be fine by air. What do you consider a product failure / success in terms of profit? When would you personally decide that a product is not worth reordering, not enough profit to be worth it? I like to see between $3,000 and $10,000 profit per month per product, right? So if you're making any more than $10,000 profit per month, you're going to attract too much competition. And if you're making any less than $3,000 profit per month, then it kind of, to me at this point, is not worth it, right? So $3,000 profit per month is about $100 profit per day. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for now. When people are first starting out, it can be a little bit lower than that, right? Because you have to kind of learn the ropes. You're probably going to be spending a little bit more on PPC because you haven't mastered it yet, right? A lot of people might, not be considering the costs that go into initially launching a product and things like that. What type of monthly profit do you consider a product to be okay / successful / amazing? 10,000. I know we all have different scales for this, but I'm really interested to see what a pro seller thinks. Yeah, so 3 to 10,000 is what I think generally through. When you see Amazon is listed in all of the buy boxes, and should that deter you from sourcing? How can you tell when they are doing retail arbitrage or private labeling? I saw a listing where they were listing a private label or major brand product. So I actually recently heard for the very first time from one of our students, Amazon taking over their actual listing. So I've met with and talked to literally thousands of Amazon sellers, and I've only ever heard of Amazon actually taking over a listing and offering a cheaper version of a private label product once. As far as actually sourcing a product that Amazon currently owns the buy box for, I think that is dangerous, right? I never recommend, sourcing a product where you're actually taking over, or listing against a pre-existing listing. I don't think that is smart. I think that always creating brand new products with, more value and creating something that doesn't necessarily exist yet is what you want to be doing, right? So, listing against a product listing that Amazon actually owns the buy box for is not what I would recommend. If you can afford it, is there any reason not to launch several thoroughly researched products at once? Absolutely not. There's absolutely no reason on earth not to launch multiple well-researched products at once. As people who watch these know, when I first started, I launched 7 different products all at the same time, and within a week, I was making $1,000 a day, and that's kind of that might not be average for people, but if you go all in, you get the returns quicker. That's just kind of how it works. I checked Google Patents, but I'm having a hard time determining if a product is patented or not. Is there a surefire way other than Google Patents of knowing if it is patented or not? I see plenty of sellers, but not to say that they're selling it illegally. Yeah, so let me first say that, the rationalization that, I see a bunch of other sellers selling it, so why can't I, is not true, right? Amazon is not fair. Life is not fair, right? So just because other people are selling it does not mean you can. If you see a patent on a product, don't sell it. Just don't. You'll thank me later when your listing gets shut down and you have 500 units sitting in stock and you have nothing to do with them. But you say to Amazon, but there's all these other sellers. They don't care, right? And so the best way to know whether or not a product is actually patented is, of course, to hire a patent lawyer, which, I do have contacts for all of my students. If you guys are interested, you're super serious about a product, but you just want, kind of that peace of mind from a patent lawyer, whether or not there is a patent on the specific product, reach out to me, and I'm happy to introduce you to that contact of mine. In your PPC cheat sheet, for phase 1, creating automatic discovery campaign, it states to run it for 1 week, and phase 2, creating manual discovery campaign, also for 1 week. Do we run these simultaneously, or phase 1 first for 1 week, then phase 2 after that for 1 week? You can do either, Jason. I would definitely recommend running them concurrently. I start, think of automatic advertising kind of as the initial, little thing you do. If you have perfectly optimized 250 characters of your backend, right? And I made a video last night on exactly how to optimize your listing now that Amazon is officially starting to roll out the 250 max character backend keyword requirements now for listings. So I made a listing on exactly how you need to optimize your backend keywords now that they are starting to implement that and roll that out to all different product listings on Amazon. So once you have perfectly optimized backend keywords, then automatic campaigns become very profitable. Or they can be, right? But you can't go crazy. Don't put like a $5,000 budget, how we do sometimes with low bid keyword campaigns, because sometimes the automatic campaigns will actually spend $5,000 in a day. And if it's profitable, that's fine, but it's just a scary thing for new sellers, especially because you don't generally see the actual sales associated with your keyword campaigns for 48 hours, as Amazon states in their PPC sections. So to answer your question, I do run them simultaneously. What do you think of Shopify e-commerce? Do you recommend it? So the answer to this question is twofold. Yes, Shopify is a very viable way to create a sustainable business. For people who are already very involved in Amazon, I recommend one thing that is so incredibly important. It's one of the most important words that you can have as an entrepreneur, and that word is focus, right? So it's not feasible to get profitable businesses set up in all of these different avenues, right? So even though affiliate marketing exists, Shopify exists, drop shipping exists, blogging exists, all of these different means to make money online exist. Are they feasible? Yes, but doing them simultaneously while you're setting up your FBA business is not what I would recommend. And the reason for that is because you have to maintain a level of focus in your business as an entrepreneur to make sure that everything you do is adding value, right? So if you're seeing one area of your time management that is adding the most value to your business, drop the work, drop the things that aren't adding, double down on the areas that is bringing the most value back, right? Only you as an entrepreneur can know what is adding the most value to your business. So it's a very important exercise to sit down with yourself, right? Go on a walk, go down and sit next to a stream, meditate, go to the gym with headphones in. I don't care what it is. Think to yourself, what about my business, what in my day-to-day life, in my time management, everything that I'm doing is adding the most value to my business as an entrepreneur, to my life? Double down on those things, right, and ignore everything else and just pursue what is adding the most value to your life with a laser focus and never drop it, ever. I have a bundle with about 6 products in it, some big, some small. How would you recommend ratio of all white, lifestyle? How would you recommend ratio of all white, lifestyle, and lifestyle with models ratio? And how would you recommend doing bundles like this and photography? Sorry, Robert, could you rephrase that down below? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Getting Prime is too much for a new seller. No, it's not too much, Sue. But most of the hijackers out there that come onto your listing, right? They're not like American people who are shipping products into an Amazon FBA warehouse. They're Chinese sellers who are drop shipping. Once they get an order, then they'll ship it via e-packet, right? Those are generally what hijackers are. Like, it arrives in 4 to 6 weeks from mainland China or wherever it is, right? So they're not normally Prime because they aren't normally investing the upfront capital to get their products into an FBA warehouse, which is what makes them Prime. Should I do giveaways after I get reviews or before I get reviews? Giveaways should give you reviews, right? So if you have an optimized setup for your email follow-up sequence, then you will get some reviews from your giveaways. So it's kind of a simultaneous type thing. You will get some reviews from your giveaway campaigns, and if you are going to do PayPal for reviews, or friends and family or other members of the Ninja group, the student group, right? We don't allow giveaways and initial reviews and stuff in the larger 28,000 person group. But if you want to do giveaways and you are a full course member, we do allow it in the student group, right? It's the best way to get initial reviews. When you are doing that, I definitely recommend doing it simultaneously as you're doing your giveaways, right? Because what you don't want to do is sell 10 products pay those people back on PayPal, and then get 10 reviews. That's the biggest red flag there is to Amazon, right? No one on earth sells 10 products and gets 10 reviews. That's just not how it happens on Amazon. So while you're doing your giveaways, also, sprinkle in those reviews that you are, paying people back for, which again is against terms of service, but it is happening. So I like to tell you guys, but I always, say that, do it at your own risk, right? But if you are going to take that risk and pay people back to guarantee you get verified reviews, do it while you do your giveaways. That way you'll kind of obfuscate and not have a 100% review rate for those sales, which is a huge red flag. Giveaways. PayPal refunds or percentage off. The only reason I'm not a fan of PayPal is because some people cancel their order after you PayPal them. Your thoughts? I mean, if you're using the Ninja Student group to do that, then you're not going to have, the scummy people who are just trying to steal your stuff. So I recommend doing, if you are going to go against terms of service and do PayPal refunds for products to get guaranteed reviews, which is against terms of service, if you are going to do that, I mean, do it in the Student Ninja group. That way you guarantee you're going to get amazing reviews. You guarantee you're going to get, honest people, and you guarantee that you're going to get those initial views, which are so vital for organic sales, for PPC, for everything involved with launching a new product on Amazon. Is the only thing we cannot change is the credit card number on our seller accounts. Can we change our seller store and brand names at will? You can change your credit card number, right? And you can change your store name as well, Josh. So if you're shipping new products directly to Amazon for a brand new listing, how do you get the opportunity to take pictures of the product for the listing? So the way that you do this is oh nice, Bjorn, yeah, Bjorn answered it. So yeah, you have your supplier send one unit to you and have your supplier send one sample unit to your product photographer with the box, right? Completely finished product, and your product photographer takes the pictures, and then once you kind of get your main mass-produced shipment to an Amazon FBA warehouse, you already have all that. Can you do a video and explain the best way to create a parent-child variation listing for the course maybe? Do you think separate listings are better than parent-child? Yeah, I can definitely do that, Emily. I mean, after this, let's have somebody own kind of setting up a poll for what everyone in the student group wants me to make the next video about. As always, whatever you guys vote for, I will create a video exactly showing you guys how to do it. So if everybody wants to know about parent-child listings, or if everybody wants to know about product research or product launch or whatever it is, I will make that video for you guys as always because I love you. Can you dodge the lockout by selling any product? Like I sell one garlic press, but my actual product I'm shipping it in is 500 units of basketballs. Will the garlic press cover my ass? First of all, John, I like those examples of products. And the answer to that is I don't know. I've never sold retail arbitrage myself, but I have been talking to a few other students, and I would like somebody to verify this by calling seller support, right? Because it would be nice if we could go out to Walmart and buy like a freaking, I don't know, something that somebody buys at Walmart. I never go to Walmart, but if you could buy something on the clearance rack, right, sell it on Amazon, and then does that count as one sale, which, eliminates your potential lockout, right, if you have one sale? And the answer is I don't know. I'll always be, transparent with you guys. I don't know the answer to that, but I would love to know. And if one of my students does, call Seller Central and tell me, I'll obviously communicate all of that info from what they do hear from Seller Central regarding if you can sell just one unit of everything to eliminate the potential seller lockout. Are you familiar with Viral Launch Market Intelligence Tool? Yeah, I am. It actually has a pretty cool feature that basically says how many units you have to give away per day to get to page 1. Which Jungle Scout doesn't have, and I've talked to Greg actually about integrating that feature as well as an infinite scroll feature for the Chrome extension, and they're in the process of evaluating whether or not they think that's feasible for the product. The Viral Launch Market Intelligence tool is definitely probably the second best product research tool on the market behind Jungle Scout, so it is a viable option if you're for whatever reason not interested in Jungle Scout. I got a little confused about Amazon videos. Can you clarify this is true? I can create my own product videos, upload them through gen.vid. I attach my ASIN to that video through gen.video, and it will automatically show up on my listing under my photo section. So gen.video has kind of like a recidivism agreement with Amazon, right? And so part of the payment that you're being charged to gen.video is because they have an agreement between gen.video and Amazon that basically says when you buy this service, right, you have the capability of attaching that video that you do create, through an influencer or whatever, to your actual product listing itself. And so, you could, I guess, in theory, open up, like an influencer account in gen.video, make your own video, and then try to get it, uploaded. But I'm pretty sure that you'd have to actually purchase it through, the gen.video platform itself to have the capability of automatically getting that video assigned as a related video to your product listing. All right. As a new private label seller on Amazon, is there an ideal maximum amount that should be spent on a first product order? Oh, I've actually never gotten that question before. No, I mean not necessarily, right? If you're doing your profitability analyses correctly, Ron, then whether you're spending 50 grand or 1 grand, right? If you're making a 50% profit margin on that investment, right, it's not a huge deal. But the caveat to that specific example I just gave is, you also have to be thinking about how many units you ship in, right? Because you don't want more than 180 days worth maximum of units at any one time in an Amazon FBA warehouse, right? Because of the long-term storage fees that you do incur at this 6-month or 180-day mark, right? So if you're shipping in an amount of products that it costs $1,000 that satisfies, beneath the 180-day, maximum capacity of inventory, and you're also having a 50% profit margin on those, right? It's the same exact thing if you spend $50,000 and satisfy both of those requirements as well. When Amazon shuts you down, it's your whole account or just the product concerned? It depends what the actual violation is, right? I've heard of people who had an image that they bought from a product photographer, right, that was actually an IP infringing image that they didn't know was infringing, and they had it on all of their different listings, right? And their entire account got shut down. I've also heard of people, who have a trademark concern or, any number of different concerns that you could, potentially have as an Amazon seller, just on one product listing, and only that product listing gets suspended or, temporarily shut down. So it kind of depends on what your actual violation is. Are we supposed to get certain things third-party tested for consumer product safety so we know it's safe to sell? I've never heard of anyone doing this, Zeus. Again, it's cost benefit. Amazon does suggest that you have $1 million worth of product liability insurance. I know, 8-figure sellers who don't. So, it's very difficult. Think about it from your perspective. If you're an Amazon seller and you order like a knife or something and you drop it on your foot, 1 out of 1,000 people is going to think, that's not my fault. It was Amazon's fault for shipping that knife. They made me drop it, right? And then 1 out of 1,000 people, of that 1 out of 1,000, would have any type of technical know-how to actually initiate a lawsuit. And then 1 out of that 1 out of 1,000, out of that 1 out of 1,000 would actually, have the money, time, and effort to spend, finding who that seller is, finding their LLC, finding the person behind the LLC, and then initiating a lawsuit. So it's like, it's cost versus benefit. It's cost benefit. If you have products that are very dangerous, or it involves like some type of being in a baby's mouth or something that could cause a death or something like that, then yeah, it is definitely worth it to have product liability insurance, or if you want to get consumer product safety stuff done. But for the most part, I don't know many sellers who do go to those lengths. They spend their time and money finding new profitable products and doing things that could potentially add a little bit more value to their actual business. Can I give away a small item with my actual product? If so, do I mention it in the listing or in the pictures? Yeah, definitely. I mean, people do that all the time, It's just like, it's a marketing technique, because it's not a free product. You still have to pay for it, but you're marketing it as a free product that they get, included with their other products, right? And so people are like, oh, well, I get a free product with this one product, so, it's great value, right? So you're giving kind of the value illusion there, which, if done in a correct way and marketed in a correct way and makes logical sense, can be a powerful marketing tool, Sue. I see 2 products selling wildly and they stand out from every other similar product for that category. There are other similar products, but none just like it. I checked and it is not patented. I see it available on Alibaba, but just not sure if they are driving traffic from outside sources or if the market is mature enough. Yeah, well, I mean, the way that you tell that, Josh, is twofold, right? So the first way is you look at sales charts on Camel, right? If you see sustained, very, good BSR, then you know that that product has been selling very well over a longer period of time. And then you also just eye track it or use the product tracker in the Jungle Scout web app, for more than a week, right? Because you never can be 100% sure tracking it for a short time, because it could be during, a giveaway, which is why I recommend, tracking multiple products on the first page, because it's incredibly unlikely that all 5 of them would be doing giveaways at the same time, which can kind of obfuscate the data that you're actually seeing from tracking that single product. How can a merchant fulfilled seller have prime shipping? So they can't have prime shipping, Emily, but if you do have very good seller metrics as a merchant fulfilled seller, you can qualify, I believe, and I've never merchant fulfilled, so I'm not an expert at all on this, but I believe that you can have 2 days shipping as merchant fulfilled if you've always met all of these insane seller metrics that Amazon tracks. So they won't technically have prime shipping, but they will have 2 day shipping available. What a hijacker do? I don't understand in what you are concerned by someone who sell the same product as you. I think you meant to say, could you explain what a hijacker does? So I'll answer that. A hijacker, so let's say I'm selling a basketball for $19.99. It's prime shipping. I'm the only seller. I made my, listing from scratch. It's like a green, crazy, glow-in-the-dark, basketball that has my face on it or something, and it's my product. I made it. I made the listing from scratch. I did all the keywords. I created the entire thing, right? So what a hijacker is they can come onto your product listing that's your baby that you created from scratch, right? And they can sell that same product as you on your listing, which means that and they would sell it for $9.95, right? And you're selling it for $19.95. So all of a sudden, you lose the buy box on your baby, on the product that you created from scratch, right? And somebody else is creating that, is gonna, undercut you by $10, and if you went below that price, you wouldn't be making any money, right? And so that's the concern people have over hijackers, because normally hijackers are people shipping from mainland China. So every time they got an order at $9.95, they'd create that green crazy basketball from scratch, they'd drop ship it to America, right? And they would only be paying $2 a basketball because they're, the actual manufacturers themselves, and maybe I might be paying $5 per basketball, so it doesn't make sense for me, including shipping and all that, to, undercut their pricing. So that is kind of the danger of hijackers, Pascal. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, just ask below and I'll clarify. Hey Kevin, the method has been to search for high demand and low reviews. What about something that has low demand but zero competition? Not a single person selling it, has search volume over 1,200 per month. For example, something selling really, really well in the US but nobody offering it in Canada. So this is a dangerous idea, Chris, because in rare cases this can be very profitable if you catch a trending product, right? But what you don't want to be doing is thinking to yourself and saying, there's no competition whatsoever. I could come in, dominate the market, and it would be great, right? But the problem is you have to have that search volume there. You have to have the monthly searches. You have to have people looking for it, right? And if you don't have that, even if you make the best product in the world, you're the only person selling it. If no one's searching for it to buy it, then you're not going to be successful. What's the highest price item you sell? I'm starting to source more expensive products in order to increase my margins. Would you agree that it's more about revenue targets rather than volume? It's more about profit targets, Bjorn, and the highest price item that I sell is $349.95, and during Q4 is about $450 for it. So revenue doesn't matter, right? It does matter, but it doesn't matter. What matters is profit. I don't know what you mean by volume unless you mean volume of units moved, but again, volume of the units, number of units you're selling, again, doesn't matter. It does technically, but what matters is profit. You could sell 1 unit a day for $1,000 profit. You could sell 1,000 units a day for 1 profit each, and it's the same amount of profit per day, which is what matters. Following up to my confusing photography question, in our Amazon listing, ideally, how many photos of each product should we have with models/people to help? Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Versus just plain white background pictures in our listing. So the answer to that question is you really only need one photo with a plain white background, right? Because Amazon mandates that your main photo have a white background. And sometimes people will go against terms of service and they'll put like 100 pack with a little Amazon smile, or they'll put like 100% guarantee, right? That's technically against terms of service, and if Amazon sees it or your competitor reports it, you will get shut down until you fix it. So I don't recommend doing anything but a white background for your main picture. So the answer to your question is I usually do 1 or 2 lifestyle photos, especially if it's necessary, right? If it's like if you're selling baby clothes, nobody on their right mind is going to buy your product unless they see a beautiful smiling baby wearing a adorable little, That Ninja Lifestyle shirt, right? And so you want to make sure that you, again, use logic here. Depending on what your product is, use at least 1 to 2 lifestyle photos. Have a main hero image with background white. Kev, have you used AMZ Tracker? What are your thoughts on it for product launch? Does the super URL option still target your specific keywords? I've heard super URL no longer works with Amazon catching on to this method. So this is an interesting one, Frank. So actually, it's come to my attention recently, and people tell me, I get hundreds of different tips every week from people who think they've found, the next amazing trick for Amazon, like the next super URL or whatever. And any of the ones that, I think might be useful or I've never heard about or I need to test further, obviously I do so. And very recently, actually, I did see a very promising new super URL that you can use to target keywords that gives you keyword rank to use during product launch. And so I'm in the last day of testing for that, and then I will be announcing it to the Black Belt full course student group of exactly how to use this brand new super URL. But before I do that, I do want to make sure, absolutely sure, that it is working, and I do think it's worth kind of the cost benefit of actually utilizing it. I'm hiring a Chinese photographer from China. What should I worry about? I used a Chinese product photographer one time, and they sold me a photo that they'd sold to other people, and I got my listing shut down. That's not to say that there's no honest Chinese product photographers out there, but that's just my personal experience with it. And so I have never since used product photographers based out of China. But just do your due diligence on their shop, right? If you have any bad feelings about it, spend a little bit more and get your photos taken in the USA or somewhere that might be, potentially more reputable. How is it possible people sell books? How do you source these? Zahira, I never recommend selling books, right? If there's anyone left who sells books as an individual on Amazon and they're profitable, they're in very rare company. I mean, Amazon has made it incredibly difficult to be profitable for books because their mentality about books is they want to be the lowest price book anywhere in any store, anywhere in the world for every single title, right? And so the entire business model is based around, lowering your prices as to low as you possibly can. Everyone's undercutting each other, right? It's just a race to the bottom. Profit margins are razor thin, right? You're paying high exorbitant storage fees for holding all of these different books in an FBA warehouse, and it's not a good business model. It's not what you want to do. If you are currently doing it, right, sell the rest of your inventory, double down and reinvest into private label, and do a business model that's actually sustainable and actually worthwhile, and one that you can actually make a very, very comfortable living doing. If someone goes to your listing through an external link, not by searching keywords on Amazon, and if they buy your product, which keywords do you rank for? So if you use just a straight up URL, Bentley, right? So this is the purpose of a super URL, right? And so Amazon shut super URLs down through what's called QIDs, right? And so QIDs are it's basically a coding language. It's a Unix timestamp. And so every Amazon URL, if you go in right now on your computer, type in garlic press, click on any of the garlic presses there, and then look at the URL very closely, you'll see a little 3-character string that says QID, and then you'll see a numerical representation that in Unix coding language signifies a timestamp. And so why Amazon put these in all of their URLs was to prevent people from manipulating keyword rank with what is known as a super URL. And so what I stumbled across recently was a new way that actually excludes QIDs from the URL that lets you drive external traffic to your listing and simultaneously give you keyword rank, right? And so that is the holy grail, right? Because if you're driving external traffic, Amazon rewards you very, very heavily from a ranking perspective, because every customer you bring from Facebook, from Google, from wherever onto Amazon, gives Amazon more profit. So they give the sellers who do that more rank, right? And so if you're doing that and you're simultaneously ranking keywords, it's basically the best way that you can possibly launch a product, which is why it's so important to, figure out a way to do that. I've heard about Air Express and Air Cargo. Is this only a DHL service or something apart? To be honest, Pascal, I let my freight forwarders handle all that. I have 2 or 3 that I get quotes from, whoever, consistently has the best pricing. And if everyone is giving me independently, right, the same kind of quotes, then I feel very comfortable that that's actually what it costs. And then whoever I have the best relationship with and the lowest price is who I choose. I don't deal a lot with shipping myself anymore. I used to kind of at the start, and I knew more about it, but if you are curious about this and you can't figure it out, I'm happy to look into it for you. But again, I don't know a ton about shipping anymore, as I've removed myself almost entirely from the entire sourcing and shipping aspect of my business, so I can focus entirely on finding profitable products, right? On optimizing our listings 100%, and on building very complex and profitable PPC campaigns. I got my Chinese photographer from Fiverr. Is that where you got your own from? Yeah, it actually is, Edwards. Which PPC do you recommend, Google AdWords or Amazon PPC? Amazon PPC for sure, right? I never ever drive traffic from Google AdWords to Amazon. If I'm going to drive traffic from any external source from an external source to Amazon, besides from Amazon PPC, I use Facebook ads. They're the only profitable way you can do it. I've never had any success whatsoever with Google AdWords. What does a seller need to do in order to get a video posted on their listing? So I mean, actually, most sellers don't have the capability to just straight up post a video, right? But you'll see that some sellers do, right? So where you normally see photos, you'll see an actual video. These are kind of grandfathered in sellers, or they're sellers who have a kind of revenue threshold requirement. If they're selling like $10 million, $100 million a year, Amazon obviously gives them, platinum keywords, which rank higher. They give them the ability to post actual videos to their listing, which is why, finding gen.video was so important, because you could not only get like a review of your video from an influencer, shot in a professional way, but you could also get it attached as a related short video to your listing, right? And so sometimes if you have people reviewing your products, which I haven't actually said before, but I do recommend, if you are choosing to violate terms of service and have other people, right, if you're paying them back to buy your products and they're leaving reviews for you, have them take a short video of your listing, or excuse me, of your product, right? Because those videos, if more and more people are actually finding value, upvoting those videos that are looking at reviews related to your products, eventually they will be featured as related short videos. One of my products of interest that sells well has slightly longer length, so it's oversized. Is it still worth pursuing? So if you use the Amazon FBA fee calculator, Zahira, it will factor in the oversized pricing of fulfillment and storage, right? So you can still do a very accurate profitability analysis using the Amazon FBA fee calculator. All you have to do is find a product that's similar to the product you want to sell, take that ASIN, throw it in the Amazon FBA fee calculator, and then get cost of goods sold, shipping per unit, and you'll have your profitability. Thoughts on having the manufacturer ship directly to our Amazon FBA warehouse? Yeah, I do that with all my products, right? So I know my manufacturers well enough, and I know the process well enough that I can explain to them, every carton needs a carton label. When you create a pallet of all of these different cartons, you have to wrap it in plastic, put a pallet label on all the different sizes on the top, right? And so Amazon has very clear instructions on how to do this. All you have to do is Google search Amazon FBA carton and pallet requirements, read through it, supply your manufacturer, tell them, we're going to need to do this, this, and this, and then when you ship from China, it's ready basically to be received by an Amazon FBA warehouse. Have you ever used a VA to source a product? I mean, I've told VAs what products to find on Alibaba, and I've had them finalize, through they've found 10 suppliers. They've grilled all of them, right? They've told them, they've leveraged them all against each other and found these 3 have the best prices. These 3 are the most responsive. These 3 are, speak the best English or have the best history or have the best web presence or, whatever the requirements that you're looking at are. And then, if there's any that has both the best English, the best responsiveness, the best price, and the best, online presence and history and stuff like that, then those will usually be the finalists. And then I'll have my virtual assistant introduce me on Skype, and then I'll kind of handle it from there and source the rest of the, all of the details out. Do you recommend requesting samples from different suppliers and choosing from the best suppliers based on the quality of the product? You can do that. It's generally a bit slower, Bentley. I normally narrow down my suppliers to the best 2 or 3 very quickly. And then if there's one that stands out, I'll choose that one, and then I'll only get a sample from him. If there's 2 and I can't quite decide, maybe I'll get 2 samples and then choose whichever one has the best quality and go with them. This may have already been asked. My products will be on Amazon by the 3rd week of September. I have friends on FB and outside that I want to purchase. Do I send them the URL or a keyword? The best way to rank for a product, right? So if you've watched my product launch module roll, you'll see that the best way to actually rank your product, from a BSR perspective, to get the keywords related to your product ranked organically, is to have someone search exactly what you want them to search, right? The highest volume, most related keywords to your product, right? So if you're selling a stainless steel garlic press, you want them to type stainless steel garlic press into Amazon, find your product. If it's a friend, right, have them scroll to page 12 or wherever you start and buy it from there. That one sale will make you jump 5 pages. Because if somebody scrolls through 12 pages of Amazon, finds your specific product and buys it based on those keywords, Amazon assigns you a huge amount of weight. But the problem is most people, if they're doing review groups or manual giveaways, nobody's willing to actually scroll to page 12, find your product and buy it, right? But if it's like your best friend, or if it's somebody from, our amazing student group, and you guys kind of devise agreement that people are going to do this for you, that is the best possible way that you can rank your product the fastest. But it's against terms of service. When should we get a trademark? After we have the product and we are sure it's selling, or before? If I understood correctly, it takes some time to do it. Yeah, this is a good question, Christina. I mean, the answer to this question is you can do either, but I personally would never spend the time and money trademarking something that I did not know was going to be successful, just personally. If the manufacturer ships directly, do you still need a freight forwarder? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would, anyone who ever tries to avoid a freight forwarder to save money is going to spend more money and is going to spend a lot more time than they think, right? There's so many complexities dealing with Chinese customs, dealing with all of the different, things that you just never think about unless you did it full time as a freight forwarder, right? So just trust me when I say this. Use my freight forwarders, right? Use Freightos to get a bunch of different quotes from all these different freight forwarders. Choose the one that you think, is the highest quality with the lowest price, and just trust me that it is 100% worth it to use a freight forwarder. You're going to save yourself so much time and so much money. All right, guys, I'm going to answer a few more questions and then I have to jet. What does Viral Launch use to rank for keywords? Viral Launch uses basically a JumpSend-esque type service. So they have a large group of people that they basically give these products away to at 95%. They sustainably give away enough products per day to try to rank you to page 1 based on what the page 1 competitors are doing. And so they have like this large group of people that they do giveaways to, similarly to how JumpSend has, that group of people who like getting products for cheap. And so it's kind of the same thing as JumpSend. Do you video chat with all of your suppliers? No, I don't. I literally just use Skype to talk via text. But you could. I mean, a lot of times though, your suppliers will have better written English since they do it all the time than spoken English. So sometimes it's easier to do chat. Do I recommend using Viral Launch? Yeah, it's an okay service. It's nothing is as good as running manual keyword-driven giveaways, right? That I teach you exactly how to do in Module 4. I show you exactly how to do it in the Product Launch module. If you have any questions at all, watch those videos, watch them again, right? That is the best way that you can increase your BSR right, your bestseller rank, while simultaneously ranking organically for your most related keywords, which is the number one factor that will determine your profitability and your sustained kind of rank on those pages. Because you have to think about it like this: no Amazon customer in their right mind is going to scroll if they find a product with 20 5-star reviews that looks exactly like what they want, they're going to buy it, right? And they're not going to scroll past page 1. And so the difference between being on page 2 and being on page 1 is the difference between being a profitable Amazon FBA seller and being an Amazon FBA seller who does not get enough sales, right? So just think about it like yourself logically. If you found a product on page 1, you'd never go to page 2. So you have to try and try and try to get to page 1. And there's a very methodical way of how you do that, getting to page 1 for the keywords that matter for your product. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining. We did a little over an hour just now, so I will definitely see you on the next one, which should probably be next week. I'm heading to Las Vegas tomorrow to watch the Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight, so hopefully that goes well. But I'll definitely see you guys later, and again, thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you next week.